Hey, Trystin, good morning.
Can you hear me?
Check, check, one, two.
Hello.
Yes, copy.
Okay.
Good morning,
For
man.
some reason, my settings, I knew that as soon as it was an 8:30 call, my settings were not going to go directly to what it needed to be on, but we should be good now, my man.
All right. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time for, responding. Um, I'm gonna jump right into, this. I know that you're it's your work day, so I want to be sensitive to that. Um, I came across your profile not too long after I met um Spencer Lynn.
Okay.
Couple of years. I met him at the San Diego Sports and Active Nutrition Summit, which is like February of 2023. So about a year and a half ago. And I actually started taking. He was working for KOS, KOS, KOS.
Yep.
I always call it KOS. So not to give a plug to KOS, but whatever. I'm giving a plug to Spencer. Yeah, just meeting him right away. His military background is just a piece of who he is, but it's all of who he is. Like he's so disciplined, he's so stoic. And like he brought a great amount of um, I want to say trust and security. As soon as I spoke to him, I felt like I was talking to someone I can really rely on. And we met in the lobby. We spoke a little bit, and I just said, "Hey, I don't know how my business and your business are ever going to intersect, but I need to know your trajectory so that I can keep track of where you are. So if ever I'm lost, you kind of will bring me back." And he took that. He understood that. I think he sees himself as a leader. Sorry, brother. I got to do this. This is my 8:30 ritual. Love you, Jess Ryan. Have a great day. All right. I got three kids, and the little one's the one you can't say
Hey,
no to. If she says anything, I gotta acknowledge her.
hey, no, I understand it.
So to kind of bring it up back to you, I saw the same. I didn't even meet you, but just kind of saw him sharing one of your original posts, and you were kind of getting your gummy out there, and he spoke about you, and I just kind of took a deep dive, and I started following you, and I just couldn't believe how transparent. Like, I mean, there's transparency, and then there's just blunt, straightforward. Here I am. Like you are raw and you are raw and vulnerable in front of everyone while you're probably having your own decisions to make and probably have, you don't want to share everything. We all don't want everything. It's hard. You a lot of credit for doing what you've done so far. I'm a big fan of you. Um, and so I just want to get into your product and really understand like what is it that drove you to take that approach at such an early stage, and maybe we get to learn a little bit about the founder. Because the name of the Keep Rising Pod is really because there's no doubt any of these businesses, small businesses, even large businesses, but people that are running small business units, they encounter so many challenging situations, and it's only through the adversity or only through the challenges that they ended up finding the way through. And so I myself have come through so many different challenges, and I'm proud of myself, but I'm also hard on myself. So I need to be around people like yourself and Spencer. And I use this pod in a self-fulfilling way so that I'm constantly at least around people that keep me honest, keep me straight. Like I can't fall below my threshold. And then also try to share that with people because I'm a little older now. I'm in my mid 40s, so that means there's some 20-year-olds that I interact with, and instead of preaching to them, I want to bring leaders to them. I don't want to tell them anything about anything. I just want to be a conduit.
Yeah, we'll keep you young. So there's a lot to unpack there. Spencer, yeah, that's my dog. He'll probably watch this, so shout out to Spencer.
I love Spencer.
Um, I've known him for probably about the same time as you have. He's been we've been connected. I've never got to meet him in person yet. I'm actually hoping to go to the sports nutrition event. I can't think of the name of it
Yep, San
next
Diego
year.
Sports and Active Nutrition Summit.
Yeah, he's speaking there, which they
That's
just
right.
announced that today. So I'm hoping to actually be able to meet him in person there. He's been around ever since my very first product, which the original one wasn't, it was kind of like this, like on the same path, but I was a newbie, rookie, and I was just out here doing whatever I thought I was doing. And yeah, it just wasn't up to my standard. So that's kind of took a step back, and that's where we got to this one. So kind of like the full story, full circle moment of this product behind me is I compete in natural bodybuilding. So about 3.5 years ago, about sub 10% body fat, we got a couple weeks out from a show, and there, I don't know how many people have ever been like single digit body fat before, but you just have like a lot of strange like cravings, right? So I just go in the supplement store, getting my regular stuff, and I'm like, man, I could really use a snack. Look over there are some good options out there, but whenever you're that low, anything that you do to kind of go off plan could have a major impact. And obviously you want to bring your best package. So I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that they have, bars, the beef sticks, whatnot. Again, some good options, some bad options. There's really no gummy alternative or anything that's actually like low calorie, low sugar. So got me thinking. Thankfully, my supplement store is right next to a grocery store. So I just walked over to the grocery store and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try this and see what happens. Grab some sugar-free Jello, went home, mixed some of my branched chain amino acids into the pot. I probably burnt all the ingredients at the end of the day, but it's just me being young and naive. Like I can do whatever. Um, put them out in the fridge, let them set and everything. And I was like, these are actually kind of good. Then I started, the whole manufacturing process and all that, which that was a whole nother headache. Put out my first product. I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure. I'd just say like it was a major learning lesson because tried to do everything solo, whatever. Scratch that. Talk to a whole bunch of people in the industry, trying to figure out what the best thing moving forward would be. That's when I came across Compound Solutions. They have they're the primary active supplier for our amino 9. Talked to them, got with my chemistry team, and we brought it to life. And then now we're just trying to hit the ground running with a killer essential amino acid gummy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that when you are sharing the data, the test data, which I think is something that it's very unusual for someone to lead with, hey, look at what our product actually delivers. Label claims is fulfilled. Is that what inspired that? Were you just really diligent about what you were taking? You knew you were getting shortchanged from products and you knew that that was a pain point. How did that become a leading driver for you?
Honestly, my advisory board. So I got 4 advisors. 2 of them are in industry, and they're pretty headstrong on making sure. Like, obviously, I want to do the ethical and morally correct thing, which that's what is required by law is to do the testing, but it is very expensive. So I'm bootstrapped, and I was really considering not doing it for these first couple just because we don't have the market fit. And then like whenever we're talking about, bootstrap and like I have to buy all this product, the packaging, all this, then you turn around and you have to get not only one ingredient tested, but I have to get both of my actives tested. That's like, we're talking about 3, 4, 5 grand, off the jump before we even know if we'll even get a customer. So they really kind of pushed me to just like, look, we've done everything this far up to standard. So we're not going to lower the bar just because of a little bit of financial impact, which, it's easier said than done. Like you got to swallow that because I'm the one paying for it. But I was like, yeah, you're right. Like if we're going to do this, I want to be the standard. I don't want to fall to anybody else's inconsistency.
Yeah, that's having been in the industry on the ingredient side, my primary experience has been supplying ingredients, and I'm very familiar with Compound Solutions. Matt Titlow's one of the leading thought. I think he's one of the industry thought leaders that is going to guide us toward that higher standard and being a standard. So it's great to hear that that's not an accident. You have source of supply chain, you have advisors that are guiding you. Ingredient space is is rampant with various types of grades, and you have a lot of issues that come up there. So finished product producers have to deal with that. And you're the only way, you're the only person who can stop that by doing the testing, by setting the standard. You definitely send the message out. If someone wants to work with you, you've now created a filter where anyone that knows that they don't have something that's going to pass testing, don't even bother offering it. So I think that's a great gatekeeper move. At the end of the day, though, you know, being bootstrapped is got to be a huge constraint. Access to money today for small businesses is quite challenging, quite expensive. You know, what are the things that I'm not really interested in specifically how you source your money. What I'm talking about is how do you wake up and weather those storms, the reality of you have visibility into your cash flow for 3 months, and you know you have certain expenses that are going to keep you at the standard that you have to be at. How do you deal with the psychological side of that, the emotional side of that?
A couple things. So I have a background in finance, so I'm really good with my money and everything. So thankfully, I've been working in banks ever since I started in corporate. So I kind of know how to finesse and do the workaround. I build out all my own financial models and everything, and I can read it and understand it. In the beginning, it was actually very hard. I think it's like one of the muscles that you build up because, like, right now, somebody send me an invoice, I just pay it. Kind of at that point to where it's like we're either gonna hit rocket fuel and blast off, or we're gonna hit the ground and skid and just fail. Like that's kind of where I'm at with us being a first mover. And like you said, money is very hard, very expensive right now. Very hard to get without those strong P&Ls. And I'm don't want to raise. Um, I'm just going for it. Like I'm all in at this point. We have a certain threshold that once we hit there, if we're not maintaining the business just off top line, then we're either restructure or consider other things or just stop spend. Because I mean, our biggest spend is just an ad. So I mean, that's nothing that we have to continuously do, I mean, it's the name of the game kind of in ecom and whatnot, but that's something that we could just stop doing. And then I could financially hold the business if necessary.
Where does somebody go to get your product?
Just our website. So ascentixil.com, ASCENTIXIL.com. We're only D2C currently.
What's the biggest challenge you think, you know, in e-com right now, you know, educating that consumer, right? You go onto Amazon and you go into any of these other platforms and there's just a plethora. You're in a very unique space. You've identified yourself as the only essential amino acid gummy. So you're cornering that. I see you put that. I love the way you structured your LinkedIn, and you know you can't miss it. I see that tagline, and anything that you do, I see that it's there. It's in the hashtag. It's at the bottom of your comments or your post. Your branding is I love your branding, man, because like I said, I was encapsulated by you, like just your content, your consistency. But where does that have its limits, right? Because I'm a little bit of a captive audience. I'm looking for someone like you, and you kind of like you passed my vision, and I was like, well, I gotta talk to this guy, or I gotta get to know him, I gotta get to know about his business. But from the e-com side, you know, where does that have its limits, and then where do you find a way through that?
So there are a couple of issues that I found that are kind of like bigger mountains that I can see that we're gonna have to climb. The biggest one is just like you said, education. There are still people that don't even know what a creatine gummy is, and I'm pretty sure that the creatine gummy space they probably sell $1 million a day if I had to guess. So that, along with there is a very high standard for taste whenever it comes to gummies. We have like the most efficacious gummy on the market. It's not going to taste like Skittles. And I think that people underestimate like the taste of the actual ingredients or what an actual efficaciously dosed product tastes like. And this is for powders and for gummies and for anything. it's not going to taste like a sugar filled candy that you're used to. It's a supplement. It supplements your diet. It supplements your gains and all this. So it's kind of like you don't want to be an ass, but at the same time, like if you're buying my product, I want you to understand you might not necessarily like the taste, right? Taste is subjective, but I guarantee you 1000% that you will know that the ingredients are in there because you'll taste them. Now,
Yeah.
you won't taste it like it won't be overbearing. Like, I'm not saying that our gummy is nasty, but I'm also being realistic. If you're not a consistent and avid supplement user, you will taste the ingredients. And that's just point blank period. Like, I'm not, if I wanted to make something that tasted good, I would have just done a low sugar gummy like everybody else.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I started my physical fitness journey very late in my life, in the sense during COVID, a lot of realities checked in where you start thinking like, could I survive? Like during the worst of COVID, it's like, you know, even the healthiest of people were getting afflicted, and, you know, what was going to happen to someone like myself that was moderately healthy, but I wasn't fit. And I think you understand the difference because you were fit. You had that sub 10% body fat. You were fit. You put the work into it. I was just mindful. And
Yeah.
I was just looking at maybe like I was healthy for the next 2-3 years at a time. I could fit into my suit for an event. I looked good in pictures. It all worked out, but that was nowhere near fit. And COVID happens. Then Diana Morgan and What's Up with Subs happens. And then I stuffed myself into a suit, bro. March of 2021, first trip in 14 months. I go down to Florida, and it's just an embarrassment. Like and no one made me feel bad. I recognized how inadequate I was around these people about this life. What these guys were doing during COVID and what I was doing during COVID was vastly different. The people that couldn't go to gyms, they just still worked out in their home, or they still stayed on path, and they look great. And I met these people and I said, I don't deserve a seat at this table. And I just started from within 6 weeks, I adopted a gym model, and I just started going. And I've been going. My wife goes. We've had a kid since then. A lot of things have just become manageable just because of the physical fitness component. Just being able to know that's there. So still it's not even about a journey now. It's just that's there. As the last thing I'm ready to go if the last thing I do is in the gym. I'm okay with that, because I know that I got lucky that I didn't get any kind of diseases, or I didn't get any kind of body affections. I got a chance to start in my early 40s, and now I really care about it. And my kids watch me do it. My kids watch my wife do it. My baby calls my wife, Mommy Strong. Like, she calls the gym Mommy Strong. Like, she doesn't know that it's a gym. They say that's a gym. She's like, no, that's Mommy Strong. That's where Mommy goes to get strong. And so whatever I needed to do, I did it. My kids are about it. But what ended up happening was that whole lifestyle showed me taste is secondary, third, fourth, fifth. Like, no one was buying things based on taste. No one was saying, yo, you got to try this. This is great taste. Taste was only like a matter when they were comparing, equals. And there was like maybe 2 or 3 options at the same level. And then they were saying, well, this one tastes better. And that changed my game, because from that point on, as an ingredient guy, I started caring about which customers I was talking to. I could recognize right away when the focus was on taste before formulation. I said, well, okay, I'm not sure this is going to be a long-term customer for me, because I'm very specialized. So I ended up buying Green Regimen plant-based protein. I got a chance to be introduced to a gentleman who's the founder, Tyshawn Bryant. And the first thing he tells me is basically along the lines of what you say. He says, my protein is not going to be the best tasting if all you've been eating up to now is your standard plant-based protein, which, plant-based protein from its original inception, it tasted nasty. They've been working on making plant-based protein taste better forever. So the best selling products are the ones that taste better, but they're not the best products. And this is what Green Regimen showed me. And I started taking that protein. I actually lied to Tyshawn at first. I said, yeah, I love it. He's like, I don't think you tasted my protein. And he's like, you got to tell me the truth. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't taste as good as KOS, or it doesn't taste as, he's like, well, I'll tell you why. And this is where his and your proficiency comes out, you know so much about the products that you're competing against. You can read out their labels, you know what they're putting in it, you know them better than they know them. So you know exactly where you stand in comparison. And that's what I like about your product, and what I like about the idea that you market it to a very specific consumer base. And these shows is really where I think you get the most headwind. Sorry, you get the most tailwinds, right? You get the trajectory there because you have people who are of that life. And I've continued to meet CPG founders who kind of are in both places. They try to make both people happy, and it's kind of hard. I don't know if I think you've chosen a really good path.
Yeah, I mean, if we ever get to a point where we extend our product line, then we might try to go for something that's a little bit more better tasting.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I want to own the gummy space. I don't want to just make another gummy. There are a lot of manufacturers that make other gummies and make gummies.
Yeah.
The most important thing to me was efficacy and ownership and being a standout. That's what we do. That's why I branded it the way I branded it. I did boxes. I actually stole this idea from one of my advisors, but he does boxes. I do boxes. Our shit looks clean. That's all I gotta say. Tight. Our stuff is clean.
Oh, absolutely. It looks really great. When you start looking at expanding a line for just from your own, this is just creative thinking, but do you start from where you are as the consumer in the health space? Like, are you looking to fill the product portfolio based on your personal preferences? I know you have advisors. Like, do you have a plan in place for like where that next expansion could be?
So my internal team, we do a little bit of like B2B stuff. So we work with a lot of ingredient suppliers, depending on what it is. Like, if it's not already in a gummy, then you will probably take on the challenge. So there's some stuff that we're working with right now that hasn't been put in a gummy. That's probably would be number one as far as what I look for whenever we would do a product extension, because I don't want something that can easily be white labeled and everybody's pushing it out on TikTok and everything like that. I just don't want to do there can be other gummies that want to claim that they have essential amino acids in theirs at whatever dosage. But I'll call them out on it. So, I mean, it's kind of like, I want to make sure that my stuff is the top of the top. I don't want it to be able to be white labeled. And it's really, realistically, it's so expensive to launch another product. This would have to be something like deep 2025, and we would have to have like a killer first 2 quarters next year.
Right. Yeah. So when you start sharing, your ideas with your team, do clinically studied ingredients have more favor to you? Like, just as versus like, if you had an option between two kind of products, if one has clinical data, does that compel you more to consider working with that kind of ingredient?
Yeah. So, and here's why. I've been in the industry, like I've been around it long enough to understand like the average consumer is getting smarter, at least on a very base level. So if we have branched chain amino acids, or if we have essential amino acids that are my gummies, and then you have a powder, I can at least substantiate like exact specific results versus what the other person is just staying off of general data. So that's kind of why I like it, just because it's easier to point. Like, I can point fingers and lead people from not only my website, but to my supplier's website, so they can learn if they're very intrigued about the actual science behind it. So it just looks better because now their branding is also a part of my branding, and vice versa. So whenever we look good, they look good. Whenever they look good, we look good. The science just continues to be done. And Compound Solutions, they're a monster. So they're very well known. So I just think it's like it's a no-brainer almost to me, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you from recent experiences, especially in the last couple of years, when I established my company, it was really to kind of give um, strong technical companies in India and Southeast Asia who don't have assets on the ground here in the US. They haven't really reached this market. They're focused in Latin America, Europe, and in the Pacific region. When I saw the great potential, they just don't want to deal with a lot of there's such a big market here, you can get lost.
Yeah.
And there's so many competent companies here too. So if you don't have a real strong team here and you don't want to put the effort into building a team here, which is also very cost prohibitive. So I kind of became that bridge, and I had started going back and forth and started seeing every year I've taken a brand back to India. So in 2023, I took a gentleman. I want to introduce you to these guys, so I'm going to drop these names. Eric Hummel. I also met him at SANS, the San Diego Sports and Active Nutrition Summit. At the same time I met Spencer. So he runs a company, a gaming company called Advance. They do supplements inspired by supporting gamers. He was a gamer, and he kind of created a business inspired by what he wanted, and just kind of blew up and created their own little culture. And one of the things that he said that compelled me to talk to him, he said he was a speaker, and he said that if he doesn't have something that's perfect for him, if he wouldn't take it, even if it's good enough for everyone, everyone in the room might say, hey, this will sell. He said if he's not happy with it, it doesn't get launched. And so again, high standards from the founder, right? Like, you guys are establishing the threshold. There's other people there that might have a lot of good opinions, but you're the one who's going to set the bar. And I think that takes a lot of guts. Again, youngster, right? Like, I'm going to call all you guys youngsters, because I come from a time where maybe I was a blend between, like, just don't rock the boat too much. Go with the flow. Wait for the time, right? Like, you kind of like just play the game. And well, you guys are rocking the boat, which is what we need. This boat needs some rocking. And so you got all these innovative youngsters who are creating these brands, and he wanted to do some flavoring that incorporated Indian flavors. I said, dude, you care so much about the details. You can't be doing Indian flavors and not go to India. So I'm going to India in June. You want to come with me? And we'll make a trip out of it, and I'll introduce you to some people. So we did 7 cities in 8 days. It was crazy, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put anyone through that. I could do it. Poor Eric suffered for a couple of days. But he's a strong warrior. So that was one. And then this year I took Tyshawn from Green Regimen, and we went there, and he became enamored by India. And we met ingredient manufacturers. These are like people that are not even on the map here in the US, and they have clinically studied ingredients that have like really robust studies, not like these wacky 10 people studies that kind of show nothing. Really strong data. And they're not enamored by the US market, but they're very ready. That's what I like too. They're not salivating at like, how do I get into the US market? It really is about like a good fit. Someone like yourself, you might be interested in going to India one day and looking at ingredients. And all of that is just to say you have an open invitation to join me on a trip to India at some point. So just keep that in your mind. If you ever think that that's something that you want to do, you just give me a call. I'll make sure we make it happen.
I might just have to take you up, and it don't even have to be ingredient related.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, because I think a lot of what the future holds, it's Trystin, I think it's just really going to come down to educating that consumer takes a lot of diligent effort. And if you have a manufacturer that's willing to do that effort, then it saves you from having to do that. That's why when you say like it's a partnership, you want to be able to drive consumers from your website to the ingredient manufacturer's website. That's the type of dynamic we need. We need those type of long-term relationships that are built with the idea that you're going to be together for 30 years. You're going to be building this together. It's not just like, hey, because ingredient manufacturers face the risk of someone like yourself. Once you've established yourself, and then, you get big enough, and then you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a private equity investor, and they take like 25%. And now they have enough say. They're like, we don't really, you already have the customer. Why don't you just get rid of the trademark product, just replace it with conventional? You're only going to lose a little bit by attrition. You're still going to keep the majority. And like that kind of hoodwinking is just, I'm not a big fan of that. Like, you built it on a base of some trust, and then keeping that trust is really, really important, right? So ingredient manufacturer relationships that can last 30 years would give you that security. And that's what I'm trying to do. I want to try to bring people close to each other and be the unconventional distributor where I'm not actually a wall in between a brand. Very similar to what Matt's done at Compound. Like he creates so much transparency for you and your customer. He gets out there in front and pitches the ingredients, and he's never talking about what he does.
Yeah.
That's what I love about, right? No, if you look at Matt, you might think Matt's just a dude that just goes on panels and talks about the industry. And I love that. And so I think, our industry needs more people like that, but it's difficult because I saw the link you shared about the class action, and I know some of those companies. I've supplied ingredients to some of those, to the co-packers that make product for some of those companies. And it's very interesting to see what those results are. Some of those gummies having less than like close to 0% of the creatine gummies that I think there was a couple of big companies we know. And then even I think there was one company that came in at like 1.27 and it was like 1.5. It was still sub, but it was still better than the rest. And now we have this weird industry where we have the best of the worst, and we celebrate the best of the worst, substandard. And so, I kind of just wanted to kind of share that because, building those relationships takes a lot of time and trust. And so Supply Side West is coming, and I know you're not going to be there, but I would tell you that, I would advise you, unsolicited, that, reach out to all your ingredient contacts that are going to be there and let them come back to you with their summaries and like anything and everyone. And like, you should have access to all that information, because eventually one of those suppliers is going to be another key cog in your empire. You want to catch them on the way up. You don't want them to catch you on the way up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I went to Expo West earlier this year and met everybody. So both New Live Science, they're pretty much their full team, and the full Compound Solutions full team. Matt was there. I actually got a picture with him. I heard it's very unheard of for people to get a picture with Matt Titlow. So I got one of those. I kind of wear that like my little badge of verification. But
Awesome.
yeah, I totally agree. Everybody that I work with on the supply side has been great. I've been working with them for like 2.5 years. I know they probably want to bill me for all the samples that I request.
Yeah, no, I would actually tell you, I would actually alleviate you of any of that burden. That's the job. That's the job. Like anyone that's sitting across from you knows that anything that we try will fail. Like it will
Right.
fail. It will fail. Some portion of the process is going to hit a road. I can't tell you how many samples I've sent. I always send samples, and I never get reluctant to do that. Because the second you start interfering with that process, the process starts with the sampling. You got to have something to work with. I got someone who's asking me for crude material because there's no test standard set up. So the company has the ability to create a test standard, but they need crude material to work with. So the company I'm working with is like, okay, we don't have people that usually ask us for this, but we'll get it to you. And, the company's like, you can bill us for it. I'm like, no, it's the burden of the manufacturer to make sure that they do what they need to do. We have commercial business in the pipeline. It's going to pay for itself. And if it doesn't pay for itself, well, that's on me because I'm not driving enough business. So, the burden's on us, man. And I share that. If I don't have that burden, I'm less meaningful than I already am. I can tell you that. Like the middleman is the least meaningful person in the process. So if he can deliver samples and make sure that someone like yourself doesn't have any kind of burden. You brought up New Live Science. I'm a big fan of them as well. It's interesting about Compound Solutions, New Live Science. So back in the day, 20 years ago, I was working for a multinational company. We used to go to Supply Side West. It was a lot smaller. And I remember having a booth right next to Matt, and we would talk. And back then his father was running the company, and like Matt's a young guy, has a lot of really good ideas. Same guy you meet right now, just 20-year-old version of him with big dreams. Just imagine that, like you. Like, just imagine who you're going to be when you're in your mid 40s. Imagine who you were and who you will be. That's what Matt was. Matt's exactly who he was supposed to be. He designed this. And New Live Science, the founder of New Live Science, small booth, just everyone walking by, no one really talking to him. Like, just very early, humble beginnings. And to see where they are today, because they had a very methodical process. They were very true to their purpose. So I think I'm a big fan. I saw that you're going to be adding estrogen, and that's your second active that you're getting tested, right?
Yeah,
In
we actually have estrogen in it right now. So Compound Solutions Amino 9 ended up being our like staple active for this product, but I actually started with Bill over at New Live Science because my very first product, my company was the first company to ever put estrogen in a gummy.
All right.
So that's a little history lesson right
I
there.
love it. So
So
that's
I've been
pioneer stuff.
yeah, I've been hanging, going back and forth with Bill for a very long time over at New Live. Them guys are all great too. I actually started with them, and Bill and all them were a lot of help whenever I first got started because, like I said, I'm bootstrapped and ingredients are not cheap, especially once you go to manufacture MOQs and everything. Like you're buying kilos, so they've all been good to me. I have no complaints.
Awesome. Yeah. What is estrogen? Can you tell me a little bit about what is estrogen doing in your formulation with those amino acids?
Yeah, so it increases your bioavailability. So essentially, it just helps you absorb all the nutrients that we have within it. So it helps you absorb the essential amino acids, and it improves your gut health. So it's a gut microbiome ingredient.
Can you imagine an essential amino acid product not having estrogen?
Yeah, like we put it in there for one because it looks good, and then for two, I'm a fan of the science behind it. I think that we'll probably put estrogen in any product that I produce. It's such a small dosage, and from the science behind it, it's very strong in what it's supposed to do. So whenever you think, I guess, big picture, if we want to be premium, if we want to be standard, you have to bite that bullet a little bit on the P&L for certain aspects that you want to achieve. So estrogen does what it says it does. It's clinically backed. They have a great team over there. It's just making my product better. It's just making everything work better inside our customers' body. So like, why not? And then even if somebody doesn't necessarily understand it, at least you can say like, okay, if you have our gummies, it increases, it helps you absorb not only the nutrients in my product but throughout the day. So you might take raw nutrition or applied nutrition or species nutrition, all these other supplement brands too. It helps you absorb those also for whatever you're taking. So it's kind of like a win-win across the board.
When we start looking at a consumer like myself, I had to go Google exactly, why someone would take BCAAs versus EAAs or both or together. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How would you tell somebody who's used to taking BCAAs and now they're not open, or you want to tell them why they should take EAAs?
So the essential amino acids are just all 9.
Right.
So instead of getting just the 3, you're getting all 9. So now this is kind of where it gets a little tricky because mainly it's leucine or BCAA driven is really heavy on like what the results are based on. So I don't want to say one thing and then it be backfired, but the essential amino acids, I would just go with the essential amino acid profile because you're getting all 9, right?
Yeah.
So why go with just the 3, which the 3 are just fine too. Like I don't have any hate against branched chain amino acids. My formula just ended up being essential amino acids because it made more sense to me personally. Like we're doing it, we want it. For one, I don't know any branched chain amino acids that are clinically backed. The essential amino acids kind of fit within our profile, get all 9, kind of just the better overall marketing angle.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went to I went to this epic block party that was at in Long Island just about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. and just a lot of fitness fans. Natural Bodies Epic Block Party. That's what it was.
Mm.
I'm gonna send you info about it for 2025, because whether you're there or not, your product definitely should be there, and fans of your product were there. So it's just really interesting because I brought up the conversation of EAAs while I was online. We're walking our way through this maze, and you have all these brands that are on display at the show. That those vendors show up. Um, another brand that I'm a big fan of was there. Fit Butters, Ryan
Yeah.
Buckeye. Uh, again, he's another person. If you haven't met him, you absolutely have to meet him. Just because you guys are just at the same vibe, same level. He's a founder, high standards, just transparent. Like his story is amazing, man. Like he started his business and he was still a wrestler. He was in AEW, and like he was like, a lot of people may not want to see that I'm a wrestler, but this is what I am when I'm not doing my business and I'm not doing this. I need you to know who I am. This is at a time when people were still not willing to do that. Like some people would keep that persona concealed, and Ryan was like, nope, this is who I am. So, that's a big part of, I think, your identity, your brand, is that it's a reflection of the authenticity of the founder. So straightforward, true. Um, but when I saw people online, they were looking at obviously that this event, there's a lot of BCA brands, and I just brought up the conversation, and a lot of people are just like, yeah, I never really tried it, never really did it. I've just always been doing BCAAs, and kind of brought me back to my roots. Back in the day, I used to do mixes. I used to bring in containers of leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and then ship it to tolling companies, and then they would make the mix into the 2-to-1 mix, and then we would sell the mix, so that this way brands didn't have to deal with that additional burden, and so we take some of that cost off their heads. But that's kind of like the only exposure to amino acids I ever had as an ingredient guy. The essential amino acids just never was part of my business, so I was asking from a place of ignorance.
Well, your body can't produce essential amino acids, which that was kind of another angle, because I agree with I can't remember the guy exactly. I think it was Eric. Whenever he was like, if I wouldn't take the product, then I don't produce it. It's kind of like the same thing that I was doing, because if you have an optimized diet, which most people in America don't, you'll get everything that you need right through a diet. But that's the point of supplements. So I was like, branched chain amino acids, and you can produce it. Like, okay, what is going to get people the most bang for their buck? Because I'm not super greedy. Like, I don't need to be making $1 million off of every cell. So if we can give more people more bang for their buck, it's something that their body can't produce. Their diet probably doesn't fulfill it unless you are on it, optimized every day. Then that's pretty much the baseline for that decision.
So
And
I know.
it helped me.
Well, I mean, I want to jump into something real quick. Outside of you being this business owner, which probably takes up a lot of your time, but beyond that, where are you really spending your time, your energy? How do you do something for yourself right now that isn't related to the business?
Uh I really don't, I guess. I was about to say, like, I go to the gym. I mean, that's kind of what keeps me sane. I'm a early bird, a 4 a.m.er.
Okay.
So I do that. Now, don't get me wrong, I travel and do a lot of stuff, but I kind of built my business around my lifestyle. So I'm not doing anything in my own life that doesn't revolve around the business in some way, shape, or form. And plus, this is a great avenue of meeting people, sparking conversation. Like, it just doesn't make sense for me to, I guess, quote unquote, do something for myself that doesn't involve my business, because that's what, if you know me from LinkedIn, that's what you're going to want to talk about. If you see me at the gym and you know about it, that's kind of what you want to talk about. Or at least, if you see me at the gym every day, you might just want to have a conversation. Hey, I see you in here all the time. Why you blah blah blah? And then that leads, like, yeah, I want to look good and all this, but I also want to be the founder that looks like a supplement brand founder.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all in one. It's just a
Oh,
part of me at this point.
yeah. Now, how do you ever have bad days, Tristan? You just seem
Yeah, yeah.
stoic, man. Like you just I get a real comfortable vibe from you that you're probably the kind of guy that you want to be around when things get tough. You seem like the even keel guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty just, set a target and get the shit done. Like I don't know. I got advisory board. They don't really like give me hugs and kisses and say everything will be okay. My dad is kind of, I wouldn't say he's hard on me, but like, he's a father. So I'm a son. You know how that goes. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't, as long as, I can see, me, myself, putting my best foot forward along with the people that I'm working with doing it, then can't really ask for much. Control the controllables is really kind of what I focus on.
Yeah.
That was the thing whenever we launched. I don't really know if you got to read the post about it was like success or failure or something like that that somebody had DM'd me, and I was like, look, I controlled everything up until this point. If the consumers don't buy the product, then the consumers don't buy the product. Like, doesn't I would love this product to take off and yeah, eventually get 100 million sales. I would love it. But realistically, if people don't want the product, then they just don't want the product. I'll still own it. It'll still be cool. I can always have the memories, but you know, that's something that I can't control.
Yeah. But you've created a culture. That's what I see. Like, for yourself, eventually anyone that comes into this space with you is going to have to adopt your culture. And I think that's something that I, as a business owner, I have a lot of reluctance to bring anyone on. I don't need to, and I also don't want to. And that's because I know that culture is something that has to be sustainable. And, I'm at a stage in my life. I got the kids, I got my family, I got aging parents. Um, I just know that culture is something that has to come from the roots. And if I'm not ready to put 100% into that culture, if I bring someone on board, they're going to make it their culture. And so
Yeah.
I look at you and I say, boy, I'd be an intern for you, bro. Like, I swear to God, I'm not even joking, man. Like, I would do it because to be part of a culture that you can be proud of, that you can say, hey, this is hard, but man, I don't care how it ends. That is dope. I used to be part of multinational companies that were still small. Man, as soon as private equity came in, just blew up that culture. And I'm just I'm enamored by the fact that youngsters like you are creating culture without even knowing it, man. You're just doing what you know. You don't even realize you're building a culture, man, but you are.
Yeah, hey man, this is my new phrase. I've been saying it for like the last 4 months, man. Whenever people ask me what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, where do the ideas come from, I just tell them I'm just doing what I'm doing. That's all. That's the only answer I got for you, man. I'm just doing what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it. Hey, so Trystin, I know you say you travel. I know you do go to some events. What's on the agenda for the rest of the year? Are you going to any events? If people wanted to kind of run into you and talk to you, where would they meet you? Where can they find you?
So I won't be going to any events the rest of this year. Probably do Expo West again. I probably won't have my product unless we have the sample sachets. Probably be working with Bare Balanced if I go out there next year. And then the one that's in San Diego. You keep saying the name of it that you
That's
where you
okay. What
met
we're
some
gonna do is we're gonna call it SANS,
fans.
SANS,
Yes,
Sports
I'm
Active Nutrition
trying,
Summit.
fingers crossed. I'm applying for some stuff that has to do with sands. So hopefully
Great.
we win that and I can come out there, showcase my product. Next year, the Tampa Fit Expo is something that I'm kind of interested in. Supply Side West, I want to go, but I don't really know if it's justifiable as far as the budget unless we're looking to really like extend our product line because all my suppliers are at Expo West at the beginning of the year. And most of the people that, well, I'm not going to say most of the people that I talk to because I could meet new people at Supply Side West, but Expo West is usually like the big one that I'll try to make an effort to go to.
Yeah, and that makes sense because that's more of the consumer side of it. I mean, you being the face of your brand, you being at supply side wouldn't really really wouldn't. I mean, you having such strong partners already, they do the legwork for you at supply side. Even fans of you, like even like someone like myself, you could always reach out to me anytime if you had any questions about anything that was pertaining to an event that you didn't attend, but I may have attended. I'd give you the lowdown in a heartbeat, man, because knowledge is power. You don't have to physically be there, but we have so many advocates. I have friends that go to different events and I'll say, I want to be there, but it's not in the budget. Can you get me the scoop? They'll do more work for me than I would have done for myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be in this community, brother. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate you giving me some of your prime time, and you're already midday for you considering your 4 o'clock starter. But I just want to thank you, man. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you, kind of just get to know you a little bit. My plan is to just kind of create a couple of clips and just kind of highlight you to people in my community, and just like in general, just like people should know who you are. Not that they don't, but we should just be supporting each other. Like Diana Morgan and What's Up, What's Ups and Lauren Brown, that team of leadership, Gina, these are people that you may not know them yet, but they absolutely know you.
Yeah, I know
And
Diana. I met her
yeah,
at Expo West last year. Over this
yeah.
year.
So
She's sweet. She's a nice
she's
lady.
sweet. And that whole organization believes in, rising tides lifts all boats. And like that's what you're doing, right? Like you're doing hard work right now by setting a threshold of standards. And it reaches me at an ingredient space where I'm like, I want to think about what kind of customer I'm working with. I want my customers to have the same threshold as what Tristin's thinking. And so like if you start seeing how that permeates through the process, it may not make an immediate impact, but it makes an impact. It's subtle, but it's worthy. It's worthy. And like I thank you. I'm grateful that, instead of me chasing some other kind of business owner, I'm more looking at someone who's going to be the future. Yeah, I like looking at the youngsters and seeing what they're going to do, because I'm going to be working for you one day, bro. So, I'll be applying for a job and saying, hey, Trystin, you remember me? Because like, my generation is going to have to work until we're 80. So, you might need some senior citizen, that's working on your company, when I'm in my 70s.
Hey, you never know. I might just come in and put a massive PO in from India, and I might need you to close the deal for me, brother. And then that'll set you up for retirement. You don't even have to work for me. You can retire yourself.
I love it, brother. I love it. Well, you've got that open invite to India. We'll figure something out. You're the kind of person that I believe there's still so much to still grow from and know, and going to India and meeting ingredient manufacturers that you might be curious about. It's going to expand your whole vision. I've seen it happen with Eric, with Tyshawn. I see their eyes just like pop out of their heads, and like I'm like, put your eyes back in your heads, man. We got plenty of time. We can always come back. But I believe that functionally, from a business standpoint, it's a great place to kind of have a footprint. And who knows, there might even be a market for your product in India too. There's always that other side of that. And so, you never know. I just want to put that out there and just give you a lot of encouragement that, not that you need it, but I really, really appreciate the way you go about your business. I admire you, and good luck to you and the rest of the way. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Hey, you too, brother, and I appreciate all this.
No,
And
absolutely, brother. You're doing the hard work, man.
inviting me.
I'm just a storyteller, man. You're the one, right? You're the one doing the work.
I'm just doing what I'm doing, man.
I love it.
All
All right, brother. Stay
right,
blessed.
man. See ya.
All right, see ya.